us his brilliant take on the aftermath of the assassination of JFK with the Oscar-nominated movie Jackie. It's Pablo Larraín. Welcome, welcome. Let's have you here, these two. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Hi. Let's start with a little bit of a look at the film.
Yesterday, you arrived after the Queen.
I got lost.
Oh, how could you get lost? You've lived over the hill for years.
It looks different now. Everything looks different.
You sure you went late yesterday because you were delayed by someone?
Why would you think I got delayed by someone?
Oh, come on, come on. They are circling us. Didn't you know? Don't you read?
It seems they're circling just me. Not you. Just me.
The thing is, Diana, there has to be two of you. You know, there's two of me, there's two of Father, two of everyone. There's the real one and the one they take pictures of. You have to be able to make your body do things you hate.
That you hate?
Yes. For the good of the country.
The country?
Yes, the people. Because they don't want us to be people. I'm sorry, I thought you knew.
I love that clip. And Pablo, you know, it's interesting because I've seen that clip used a lot, you know, when you've been talking about the movie on talk shows and whatnot, that clip has been played. It's such an interesting scene in the context of the movie because it's possibly, it might be the most conversation Diana has with another member of the royal family other than the boys. And I really wanted to start by asking you about the tone that you established for this film, the world that you wanted to create inside of Sandringham, inside of Diana's head in this movie, and maybe in answering that question, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about this moment that we're witnessing in Diana's life.
Yeah, well, it's the moment that she decides to walk away from that marriage, and that decision, it's difficult. She finds her identity, I believe, and she decides to move on. I have, you know, made certain difficult decisions in my life, and we all know what that is like. And I think that, you know, she was in a marriage that was too crowded, and leaving that context, that family in that moment was probably very hard. And she doesn't want to do to her body things that she hates. She doesn't want that. So she basically understands that she can have a life with her children outside of that structure, that institution, and that family, and that marriage. And so, yeah, so Steve Knight, who wrote this wonderful script, made the family, you know, as a background. And there are just two occasions where she interacts with well, one was Charles, this one, and another very brief one with the Queen. And you know, we are always inside of her perspective, and that is a combination of the result of the movie as a process, as a point of view, and also I think, you know, the sensibility that Kristen portrays, that allowed us to inhabit her perspective, and at the same time to see and feel her. So it's an interaction of cinema, I think, and a very human and simple thing, I believe.
That's one of the only scenes that's actually shot in kind of more standard wide shots. I mean, usually there's always some sense of like dropping back into her body, even with sort of the visual vocabulary that the movie has. And so it's so weird. I walk into this room and suddenly it opens up, feels immense in a way that feels new and daunting and kind of horrible. And yeah, we have this weird conversation that is so sideways, and everything you know about her story, their story, all of the facts of history, they're all embedded in this kind of weird conversation about hunting. And like, it doesn't get as specific as you might think it does, but they really nail every theme in this one single conversation that takes place. And you're sort of waiting for it the entire time. You're like, okay, they're finally going to talk. And we don't ever answer each other's questions. We just keep sort of changing the subject on each other. And it says so much more than like having something that was more specific.
This film is a haunting film. You know, there is a certain sense to it that I would consider to be haunting, and ghosts seem present throughout. And I wanted to ask about that. You know, the nature of that kind of spirit that's somewhere buried deep within the story that you're telling, and whether you felt those ghosts on set, each of you.
Well,
it's possible. You can have it. Well, we can get you a fresh one as well. Yeah. We'll move that.
Yeah, I've seen as a viewer movies that they have, you know, great structures and ideas and plots, but it's not what really stays with you, I think. And movies get into your, you know, through your fingernails. Heard a lot that this movie has a horror take on her life. Look, I'm fine with that. I just think that if I were to inhabit any of you's point of view for 10 minutes and to see the things that you think, just to see the memories that you have, and you put it on screen, it could be a horror movie. Our perception is so particular and weird that once you film it and put it on screen, and then of course if Johnny Greenwood comes in, you know, that's the cocktail.
Yeah. Well, and I think important to say as well, you know, ghosts can be, you know, positive spirits, guides, and Kristen, I wanted to ask you about that as well. You dove into research for this role, you know. Tell me about what you found in the experience of just getting to know Diana.
It's funny, I have to see this clock ticking down. It's like 2 minutes. Like, to tell you all about Diana, what did I learn about her?
Listen. I've been ignoring the clock all day. You go for it.
Well, I guess quickly, like, the thing that I love hearing Pablo talk about, and because it's kind of the first thing that occurred to me, I think this is the way to go. He talks about like the pathways that cinema provides, like in terms of time travel, and you were just talking about ghosts, and just being able to experience her in a visceral way again, and not in a way that feels so far. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not somebody who had a super developed relationship with like her as a figure or the royal family as a whole thing, but I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have played this part unless I loved her. And it's so easy to do that. It's so immediate. And to put it plainly, you could try and think of like why that is. I think that some people just have that. And being able to experience somebody again is, you know, you don't really get that through a lot of other mediums. Like movies definitely allows you to time travel. And like, you know, he always talks about this one Anne Boleyn moment being just such a miracle, because we get to, in a flash of 5 seconds, travel 500 years, and just for a moment. And like, just thinking about how cyclical history is, considering we're all the same. Humans are not so drastically different from each other. And that's kind of like, I think also what she represented so viscerally is this reflection. People were like, oh, me. And it was the first time that anyone embedded in this royal institution ever felt like somebody who they could be. And it wasn't this fake, you know, peddled ideal that keeps a sort of nation from falling apart. Like, that's, you know, based on fake dreams. Like, she provided a dream that just felt real. And yeah, it was nice to get to know her, but like also not, because we can't know her. She's just like the most unknowable person.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Spencer, extraordinary film. Please join me in thanking Kristen Stewart and Pablo Larraín. Thank you.